Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. Tony, the International Space Station was hampered yesterday by a malfunctioning toilet.
I'm Tony Kornheiser, and that's why I always have a backup. Tupperware. It's great.
See, these are
images. You just close the top, you throw it outside. Throw it right out the space station.
I don't think our viewers appreciate us starting the show with those images. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. You toss it out the space station, and you guess where it's going to land back on Earth.
You can't get on a plane. How are you going to an international space station?
Well,
you can't get on the shuttle to New York. What are you talking about?
Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, the Cowboys stink. The Dolphins turn to Tua, and Clayton Kershaw is back on the mound for the Dodgers. But we begin today with the Kansas City Chiefs going to Buffalo and running the ball down the Bills' throats last night. Kansas City ran it 46 times for 245 yards. That's just the second time the Chiefs have run more than they've passed since handing the reins to Patrick Mahomes in 2018. So, Wilbon, what is the headline here? The Chiefs running the ball or Josh Allen struggles after passing for only 122 yards?
Yeah, it's not Josh Allen. It's the Chiefs, Tony. And it is the running game. I mean, when you pound it like that, that gets me all warm and fuzzy as a guy who follows a team with usually no quarterback. Running the ball, something I understand. Edwards-Helaire goes 26 carries for 161. Mahomes has 10 carries for 36 yards. And, down the line, Darrell Williams, Darwin Thompson. I don't even know who Darwin Thompson is. Tyreek Hill only had one carry. But it amounts, as you said, to 245 yards. And it just says to you that the Kansas City Chiefs, who have a star running back, like backstage, waiting to come out and be handed the ball, they can beat you any way they want. I mean, they can torch you by throwing for 450 yards in a game whenever Mahomes wants, or now they can run the ball and play power football. It's just the rich have gotten richer.
So we are in agreement on this story because we both watched the game and we're texting back and forth. And it's not about Josh Allen. In fact, Josh Allen wasn't any good, but he got him down within one score with 6 minutes to go. It was about Kansas. Yeah, it was about Kansas City running the ball. And let's talk to two specific things. Edwards-Helaire ran like a guy acutely aware that Le'Veon Bell is joining this team.
Yeah.
And he's saying, hey, I'm pretty good around here. And Patrick Mahomes does not do stupid things. He does not expose his body on stupid runs. He goes to the sidelines and holds the ball out. He doesn't get hurt. If he's running around back there, he finds a receiver, he hits the receiver. If Kelsey's open, it's a touchdown. I mean, that team beats you running, beats you passing, beats you on defense. And I'm going to credit Andy Reid, because Andy Reid doesn't like to run. Andy Reid likes to pass. 22 seasons as a head coach. This ties the most runs he's ever had in a single game. And, Mike, because I texted you this, that's coaching. How am I going to win this game?
How am I going to take advantage of this personnel? Not people I wish were here or people I left in Philadelphia. People I got right here on this roster.
That's right.
It is. Andy Reid is to be serenaded. Glad you went there. Thanks for reminding the show of that. The second game featured the Cardinals bullying the Cowboys. Kyler Murray threw that beautiful bomb for a touchdown, but Cowboy lowlights defined this game. Ezekiel Elliott fumbled twice, and Dak Prescott's replacement, Andy Dalton, threw for only 82 yards in the first half and then 2 picks overall. Tony, if you are Jerry Jones watching that game, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking, number one, don't clean my glasses, son, because I don't want to see this anymore. And then I'm wondering, and I know a lot of people say this, maybe he has regrets about firing Jason Garrett. He should not. Jason Garrett's the offensive coordinator for the Giants. The Giants don't have any particular offense. Should he regret hiring Mike McCarthy? Maybe. But let's go to statistics that I know you hate. But I'm going to say this. He's an offensive guy. The Cowboys have scored the 4th most points in the whole league. That's not the problem.
Yeah, it is.
The problem is their defense. It's killing them. They've given up the most points in the league, 218. That's 36 a game, Mike. Not even Alabama can win all the time, giving up 36 points a game. Mike, it is the most points through 6 games since the merger. That's 50 years. Your problem is defense.
Tony, he's not an offensive guy. He's the damn head coach, okay? So if you can't do any better than that when you're the head coach, I don't care. That's over. He's the head coach. It doesn't say offensive-minded in the corner office. It says head coach. So be the head coach or get out. and he would be on 1 foot out. He is not looking like a good head coach right now. And Mike Nolan, who's been in the league a long time and had some success, they look bad. They look terrible. You have to play some defense, even in this league at this time when the league is trying to legislate defense out. You got to play it better than the Cowboys have played it. Listen to Tony. He's on the verge, Jerry Jones, of wondering if this division stinks so much that he's in first place.
That's right.
If he was in any other division, he'd be thinking about the rebuild, what's going to come next season.
Okay, but this is an important concept. He's in first place in a terrible NFC East.
Yeah.
He's the only team that's won 2 games, and they're 2-4. He's got Washington and Philadelphia coming up. He could get to 4-4. He could get into the playoffs at 6-10. So that might content him a little bit, but they stink.
They do.
They were lucky to beat Atlanta, lucky to beat the Giants, and their combined record is 2-10.
Let me ask you something.
They are overcovered, overpraised.
Yes.
Let's get to something important.
Wait, before you go there, every spring and summer, we have to endure. Everybody who's ever talked into a microphone tell us how great the Cowboys are going to be that ensuing season. And they're garbage. More often than not. Enough. Shut up out there.
Arizona,
how good the Cowboys
their quarterback completed 9 passes. Neither Fitzgerald nor DeAndre Hopkins went in the end zone. They still scored 38. Cowboys stink. Let's move. The World Series, which I like, begins tonight. The Rays will start Tyler Glasnow, who has been 2-1 with a 4.66 ERA during these playoffs. The Dodgers will counter with Clayton Kershaw, whose playoff struggles are well documented. His career ERA in World Series games is 5.40. Wilbon, who would you rather have pitching for you?
I'd rather have the recently, sadly departed Bob Gibson. I'd rather have Jim Palmer. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And I don't want either one of these guys. Kershaw, I realize 2-1 with a 3.32 this postseason is not terrible. It's pretty good. But 5.40 ERA in 4 World Series starts, Tony. Come on now. And Glasnow's not great. He's got 2 pitches. If one of those pitches he's struggling with, he's essentially a 2-pitch guy. If he's struggling with one of them with location or something early in the game, you're just going to sit and wait on the pitch you know is coming. Look, I know there's great storylines here. Anytime you have Clayton Kershaw, who is going to the Hall of Fame, it's an interesting storyline. Because a few other guys, he's not able to pull himself together in October. But I don't want either one of them.
I'm going to close my eyes and I'm going to take Clayton Kershaw. The way it works out with off days for the first time in these playoffs, he can comfortably start 2 games. If he pitches well and there's a 7th game and they need him, maybe he can come in relief. Maybe that's possible. This is an opportunity for him to rewrite his postseason story. And I'm going to root for him. I talked to our friend Richard Justice from MLB.com the other day. And Richie said, look, it's inexplicable what happens to this guy in the playoffs. Nobody understands it. He said, but his teammates love him. And he's a stand-up guy, and if you ask him about the playoffs, he won't duck it. He'll face it head on. So I find myself rooting for him. And I do think the Dodgers are a better team. Just some small statistics. They led in the regular season in runs. They were first. They had 349 runs. Tampa was 12th. Tampa was 4th in the AL East. So Tampa beats you with pitching and defense.
Yeah, they do.
They don't knock you out. They're not a big hitting team. If Randy or Rosarina, if he doesn't hit, I hope I pronounced his name correctly, if he doesn't hit, who else scares you? Whereas the Dodgers have scary hitters.
The Dodgers have scary hitters, except they've been to the World Series now 3 times in 4 years, and the other 2 times they weren't all that scary. So let's get over
the
what
other 2
happens
times
in the
maybe
regular season or in the past or any of that.
Maybe
they
cheated,
You know what? They lost in the division round. They lost in the – they've lost, okay? They've lost. So
but in the World Series, Houston cheated. And maybe Boston cheated.
That's not the only World Series they've been in. Stop making excuses. I'm rooting for the Dodgers. But I'm not going to make excuses for them.
Those are the last 2 they were in. No, it's not the only one. It wasn't 1957. No,
they lost in the division or the NLCS before that. What are you talking about? If you're going to have these
2 of the last 3 they're in. Let's take a break.
Get it right.
Coming up, are the Dolphins too hasty in giving their quarterback job to Tua?
Yes, they're too hasty. Maybe they can give it to Kershaw. Is Phil Mickelson strong enough to carry Charles, Wade, Barkley on the golf course.
These are not stats, they're results. They lost to Houston and Boston in a World
That's
Series.
the last two. They lost before that. Kershaw's been around longer than 2 years. What are you talking about?
We're not talking about Kershaw. We're talking about
the
the
dude
Dodgers.
with the red beard. He's been around.
Time to go 2 for 2 in toss-up. Let's get the first one from the producer over the loudspeaker.
Toss-up. The Dolphins have named Tua their starter. Who should start? Fitzmagic or Tua?
I don't think it should be Tua. I think it should be Ryan Fitzpatrick at this point. Mike, they've won 2 games in a row. They beat the 49ers and the Jets. 49ers are okay. They scored 67 points. They can actually make the playoffs. They're 3-3. They're not tanking for Trevor because they already tanked for Tua. I sort of get it. There's a bye week coming up, and they spent a lot of money on Tua. But, Mike, I'm going to go to the Kansas City model. I mean, the more you can stay on the bench in your first year and watch, the better off you're going to be. Patrick Mahomes stayed there, and he watched Alex Smith, and then he took over. Fitzpatrick has been noble about this. He knows he's going to give way to Tua. But look at the kid Joe Burrow. Look at Justin Herbert. They're getting pounded. I don't see the need to do this now. Do you?
Because there's no need. Win the damn games. Everything in the NFL lately for a lot of too many teams is about looking for this and preparing for this guy. And he's got more upside. Win the game Sunday. Fitzpatrick's winning the games. What are you talking about? I realize he's probably thrown a few too many picks. He's got, since you're obsessed with stats, I'll give you a couple, 10 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. He's also completing 70% of his passes, and he's won the games. So winning the games is not good enough for that coaching staff? Really? Really?
I don't understand that. They're 3-3, which is better than they've been probably in 10 years. Yeah, really. I mean, come on. All right, next.
Toss-up. Better pairing. Charles Barkley and Phil Mickelson, or Steph Curry and Peyton Manning?
Okay, the better pairing is Steph Curry and Peyton Manning. Steph Curry is a scratch player. Peyton Manning is a 6. He played in this last year. It was totally natural the way he was out there. They're better as a pairing, but the more entertaining pairing, and the one that we all want to see, is Phil Mickelson and Charles Barkley. Because I don't know what Charles is playing to. Charles Barkley, what makes it great is its alternate shot. So wherever Charles hits the ball, whether he hits it into a bunker, whether he hits it into a cactus, whether he hits it into a parade of wild javelinas, Phil's got to go find it, and he's got to go put it on the green, which I think he's going to do a lot of the time. And that's why I want to watch this. I mean, Chuck is your dear friend. I would just ask him and say, you can't pick up. It's just you 4. You can't put it in your pocket. Are you sure? Are you sure you want to do this?
Well,
Nobody can take a 20 and put in Justin Thomas for the next shot.
You've never hit out a cactus,
big boy.
Obviously. Some of us in the desert have. And by the way, the javelina, they look menacing because they look like, a combination of a porcupine.
Yeah, but they're blind, aren't they?
They're pretty much blind.
They can't see.
If you zigzag, Charles can still move quickly enough to get away from them. You still have to pick, if you were betting, the professional, all-time professional golfer.
Sure.
Phil Mickelson, because Phil can't recover? Phil can't recover from a bad shot?
Sure he can.
Whether his own or even Charles's? This is going to be fascinating. This is in Arizona. I might just bail on you and stay down there for Thanksgiving and then walk the course with them.
And you should say to Phil, just keep that Amstel light coming. Phil is selling everything these days. That's it.
That's right.
Kornheiser bats 1,000 and toss-up as always. Right. Let's take one last break, but still to come. Could Gardner Minshew's starting job be in jeopardy?
Just find some rookie and put him out there. The Pacers picked their replacement for Nate McMillan. NFL coaching, man.
I got to be honest with you. I'd never heard of this guy. I hadn't heard of him. Wish him all the luck in the world. Hadn't heard of him. Do you know him?
He's got a good team. No. He's got a good team.
Is presented by Samuel Adams. From Boston with love. Savor the flavor responsibly. Part of Happy Hour.
Happy time, people. Happy 83rd birthday, Juan Marichal. The greatest pitcher in the history of the San Francisco Giants, considering Christy Mathewson and Carl Hubble, pitched for the New York Giants. Marichal's career one-loss was 243 and 142. His career ERA was 2.89. In the 60s and 70s, it was important for starting pitchers to go out every fourth day and pitch the whole game. Relief pitching wasn't as sophisticated as it is now. In 1968, for example, Marichal had 38 starts and 30 complete games while winning 26. In 1983, Marichal became the first Dominican player inducted into the Hall of Fame. Of course, you cannot talk about Marichal's career without noting that in August of 1965, he had that ugly incident at the plate with Dodgers catcher Johnny Roseboro. Marichal felt Roseboro deliberately clipped him on the ear while throwing the ball back to the pitcher. They had words. Roseboro stepped towards Marichal, and Marichal hit Roseboro in the head with a bat. Marichal was heavily fined and suspended for 10 games. Roseboro sued and eventually settled for $7,500.
Tony, amazingly, not only did Roseboro forgive Marichal, they became friends in the 1980s. Marichal served as an honorary pallbearer at Roseboro's funeral, and Roseboro endorsed Marichal's candidacy for the Hall of Fame. I mean, it's just amazing how that wound up.
Happy anniversary, Los Angeles. On this day 32 years ago, Los Angeles became the first city to simultaneously hold championships in the NBA and Major League Baseball when the Dodgers beat Oakland 4-1 in the World Series. Earlier in the year, the Lakers had beaten the bad boy Detroit Pistons in the NBA Finals. Cities have occasionally had multiple titles in the same calendar year, though maybe not baseball and basketball. The Red Wings and Lions won in 1952, the Mets and Jets won in 1969, the Pirates and Steelers won in 1979, and 30 years later, the Steelers and the Penguins won. Now the Dodgers are positioned to repeat their history since the Lakers just won the NBA title. But before we get parochial about baseball and basketball, let's remember who just won the Stanley Cup, the Tampa Bay Lightning. So it's not just Los Angeles going for 2 championships. If the Rays win, Tampa gets the double.
Tampa fans unlikely to be insufferable, right? I mean, do we have a book on Tampa fans in general? They're not likely to be insufferable like LA fans are likely to be. Just saying.
That's probably right, but you can't find them in the ballpark because they don't go to the baseball games. Happy trails to the coaching vacancy with the Indiana Pacers. The Athletic is reporting that the Pacers will hire Toronto Raptors assistant Nate Bjorkgren and see if he can get them to win at least one game in the playoffs, which they haven't in 3 of their last 4 playoff appearances. This is an obvious attempt to capture lightning in a bottle with an unknown coach the way Toronto did with Nick Nurse. Indeed, Bjorkgren assisted Nurse on the 2011 G League champion Iowa Energy. Bjorkgren was an assistant for the Phoenix Suns for 2 years before rejoining Nurse in Toronto in 2018. Bjorkgren, 45, is from Iowa, played at South Dakota and his hometown, Buena Vista University in Storm Lake. Yeah, me neither. He coached 4 different G League teams, compiling a 126-74 record. He takes over for Nate McMillan, who got to the playoffs but couldn't win there. Mike D'Antoni, who was rumored for this job, is now reportedly a candidate to join Steve Nash's staff in Brooklyn.
Tony, it is a Hoosier-like resume, is it not? I mean, that resume will be appreciated in the state of Indiana, where, by the way, I really think that the Pacers have a roster, the nucleus of a roster, which could contend in the East. I realize not as glamorous as several other teams, Milwaukee, Toronto, Philly, Boston. I realize they're behind all those, Miami, but they got the nucleus of a nice team.
I agree with that. I mean, I think they've got good players.
Yeah.
They get to the playoffs every single year.
Struggle when
if
they
you
get
can
there.
do something to win, All right, one ticky-tack correction. I said the Dolphins hadn't been 3-3 in a decade, but they were 4-2 in 2018 and finished 7-9. Thank you, Adam Gase. I guess you're still employed this late in the day. We're running out of show when we go to the big finish.
Let's do it.
49ers running back Raheem Mostert is likely headed to the IR with a high ankle sprain. Is that a big loss?
If you're averaging nearly 6 yards per carry, second best in the NFL, that's a big loss, Tony. Former Astros GM Jeffrey Luhnow again denied he knew anything about the team's sign stealing, bang the drum. You believe him?
No, I don't believe him. He was an active GM. He had his hands on everything with that team. He and the manager were so very tight. Why was he fired if he had nothing to do with it? No, I don't believe that. I don't. Jaguars coach Doug Marrone says it's a possibility in the future that he could bench Gardner Minshew. Are you surprised?
What did Gardner Minshew? Is he Joe Montana part 2? What do you know? You're not gonna be surprised. Tigers Hero World Challenge Tournament has been canceled because of coronavirus precautions. I know you liked watching that, didn't you? Sort of in the silly season, but you liked watching it.
I liked watching it. I didn't know that Hero was a motorcycle. I thought it was for like military heroes. It turns out it's a motor. I had no idea. Last one, the Champions League started today. You must be excited by that news.
Yeah, Tony, I'm picking Chelsea even after going 0-0 against Sevilla. I'm going to go with Chelsea and Christian Pulisic. I'm sure you can break that down.
So unbearably pretentious, I can't tell you. We're out of time. We'll try and do better the next time, and I'm Tony Kornheiser.
What is it pretentious? I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. You can get the podcast on the Apple Podcast. I've been to Chelsea and watched Pulisic play, so it's not pretentious, okay?
I know.
It's not.
Chris Marinaro, shout out.